in order to start talking about Mystery Science Theater, we have to go back to where it all began. And that's a little station in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area called KTMA TV23. Now, in order to try to get ratings, they dedicated themselves to local programming. I guess in that way, you could kind of call it public access. People like to say that it was a public access station that MST3K started on. And since it was a station that favored local programming, I guess you could call it that. I guess in some ways it was a real-life U62, to borrow a phrase from Weird Al Yankovic's movie UHF. They had programs like thumb wrestling tournaments, satire news, they did local commercials. They even did their own New Year's Eve show where they called it the Melon Drop. But there was one thing that came out of KTMA that no one can mistake, and that's Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Just to repeat yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax. For Mystery Science Theater 3000.
As for how the show concept started, it was almost called Mystery Science Theater 2000. But Jim Mallon and Joel Hodgson figured 3000 would be, well, 1,000 better, especially considering the year 2000 was only 12 years away at the time. Now, Jim Mallon was the program director of KTMA TV23, and he decided to name the company making Mystery Science Theater Hairbrain Productions. As for the concept of being stranded in space, Joel decided to take a cue from the 1972 movie Silent Running, in which it was about, well, someone trapped in space with robot friends, basically one of the last humans on an ark for all intents and purposes. And but instead of just hanging out and making sure the ship runs right, they figured the concept of, well, their bosses didn't like them, so they shot him into space, and they make him watch cheesy movies as sort of an experiment. Now, at this point, Gizmonics wasn't mentioned in the show yet, and neither had Joel Robinson picked up the surname, so he was still being called Joel Hodgson in the show. And, well, and that's how we start this series. I'm DJ Particle, and this is MSTie Review. First off, there wasn't much of an opening skit before movie sign. And as you can see, the door sequence got a little better. Basically the classic KTMA door sequence that we all know and love.
All right, hey, thanks for coming to Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm Joel Hodgson. The guys at the station sent me this facsimile that the next film is called Invaders from the Deep. I don't know what should upset these people so much that they would need to invade, or what it is they're in that's so deep. Kamba, could you bring that in a little bit? Let's see. Yeah, that's good. And it's a Gene and Sylvia Anderson film. They're the same people that did Fireball XL5, if you remember that. And it stars the puppet Troy Tempest, and it looks like we got movie sign happening, but always remember it's in Super Marionation. I'll go around, you go through.
Now this show and the next show aired on Thanksgiving Day in 1988. And that's also kind of why the Turkey Day Marathon is such a big event. Not only does it celebrate the turkeys of movies that they keep watching, it also marks the anniversary of Mystery Science Theater 3000, hence the marathon.
Hey, Kamba, bring it in a little bit. I want to show them this. I'm kind of dabble a little bit in genetic engineering myself, and I invented this. It's my interpretation of a man-eating plant.
Ooh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, as you know, space, you can go back now, Cambot. Anyway, as you know, space is a great place to develop new ideas. This is my new invention for the human race. And you know how they have airbags for cars, but really they don't have anything for anybody who drives motorcycles. So I invented this.
Wow, that blows my mind. Being a human must be a rush.
As you can see from this, they pretty much decide to recycle the plot from the pilot episode in which a virus attacks the ship. And a little different in the fact that, as you can see, there's no beeper. However, he is mentioned.
That's right. Crow?
Yes, Joel Hudson.
Hey, bring Beeper in here. Gypsy's contracted some sort of weird alien strain of disease. I need you in here right away. Okay. Ouch.
What? Not ow, it's toasted.
Oh, jeez. Uh-oh, we're getting movie sign. Can you run on it, Gypsy? Okay.
Now, of course, this wouldn't be an MST3K review without mentioning some of the riffing as well. As you can see here, it takes quite some time for Joel to enter the theater. When he does finally enter, the credits have the beginning credit says have pretty much already rolled.
Excuse me.
And, by the way, don't tell Mike, but Joel appears to have brought some snacks into the theater. Specifically, popcorn. So much for snacks not being allowed, huh?
They stay down pretty good for being made out of wood.
And believe it or not, the very first episode starts off Joel and, well, not so much the bots, because the bots aren't in the theater yet, but Joel giving weird, funny names to some of the characters in the film.
Lettuce Man.
Yes, get us.
He just said lettuce. Yes, lettuce. See what I mean?
How much?
Lettuce head.
And at one point, Crow kind of alludes to where Joel has been for the past few years. And it doesn't look good.
You will begin the invasion by destroying the west coast of the area known as the United States of America.
Yeah, that's where you're from, Joel Hudson?
Mm-hmm.
You're kibble.
That's right.
And something else we didn't know about the bots, well, apparently they're both water pumpers.
Prepare to go
Joel?
even deeper than the deepest ocean.
I have to drain my radiator.
Okay.
And also, the very first episode gives us a parody song as well, even if it is only one line.
Smoke on the water.
Fire in the sky.
Smoke underwater.
And back in the early days of Mystery Science Theater, at least for the first couple episodes, they took the opportunity in the ending credits for Joel to ask, what the bots liked about the movie, or, well, in this case, Crow, because notice Servo isn't here yet, and neither is Beeper. Neither one of them appear in this episode at all. Why? Well, you'll find out in the next episode.
We could review the show, Joel Hudson.
Yeah, we could be Cisco and Ebert, couldn't we?
I'll be the fat guy, you be the bald guy.
Okay. Well, what did you think?
Well, I thought it was long, boring, kind of tedious and stupid, but I have to give it a claws up because I kind of sympathize with the puppets.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, the episode ends the same way as the pilot episode does as well. The only difference is, in this episode, you may notice, Crow's been sounding a little weird. That's because, believe it or not, Trace Beaulieu was not available for the first episode. So J. Elvis Weinstein voiced Crow instead. That's probably why we don't have either Servo or Beeper here.
If you pay attention to the number that's being flashed on your screen, you can call me. If everything works out okay, you can call me up here at the satellite and leave a message. It should transmit. It's something I kind of jerry-rigged. I'm not sure if it'll work, but if you put in a good response, maybe end up on the air in a couple of weeks or something. You might want to keep watching. Anyway, I had one more invention I wanted to show you too. This is a thing I made for more people on Earth. It's for a guy who would happen to play bagpipes, but they're electric. Well, the reason why I made this is so that the guy could sing along while he played. You know, everything's worked out okay since we had that epidemic of that strange foam from outer space. You know, gypsies out sky munching on the spiral on down. I got over my sickness. I'm doing okay. You know, everything's worked out all right.
Yes, it has. I wonder what it was, though. Maybe it was an unknowable but important gesture in the grand scheme of things. You know, God blinked. Joel?
Yeah, Crow.
Did you ever wonder that maybe this spaceship isn't really a spaceship at all, but a television set built for the amusement of the viewing audience? And I'm not really a robot, but a puppet built to look like a robot, who is in reality being controlled by a puppeteer under this very table. And you're not a scientist/inventor trapped in outer space, but just a comedian playing a part on a television show that you wrote.
Crow, one thing I always wanted to ask you is why isn't it that you never foamed?
Because I thought I'd save it for the end of our transmission.
Oh, great idea. You serious? Golly. Eek.
So, what do we think about this episode? Episode 0001, Invaders from the Deep. Well, it was a great opening episode for the concept. If you were in the Minneapolis area watching this for the first time, this must have been cool. Seriously, it must have been cool. Now my partner had lived around here all that time, and people would tell her, you gotta watch this show. It's got this guy and these robots. But at the time, pretty much everyone she knew with those type of opinions were stoners. And kind of I can see that. It is that kind of humor. At first. But anyway. This is one of the 2 episodes that did not exist in fan collections until Joel Hodgson himself made them available to certain Kickstarter backers. After that, everyone circulated the files, and they are now available, this one and the next one. Definitely watch this. I'm probably going to say that about just about every episode, but definitely watch this. Whereas it may not be a good introduction to Mystery Science Theater, if you're at least partway familiar with Mystery Science Theater, it's a good way to see where it all began. I know I said that last time too, but it's still true. The KTMAs do have that certain charm that you just really can't deny. So until next time, where we take a look at 0002, Revenge of the Mysterons from Mars, I am DJ Particle, and I, signing off. Boom.